So, some surprisingly good news came out recently. And this good news, as you probably read by the title here on YouTube and on my podcast, which is BW Rose's Discussions, which you can find anywhere except for Pandora as far as podcasts are concerned. But apparently, the director of Sonic Frontiers, Morio Kishimoto, answered a question that a fan posed to him in a recent Q&A. And that question was about comic book characters, probably appearing in, future games, future installments. And of course, they did also mention things like Mighty and Ray, who we've seen before in Sonic Mania. And Kishimoto's answer was very surprising. He said that, yes, I am very interested in seeing those characters appear again. And upon hearing this, of course, it got a lot of folks excited. I mean, it's actually the first time, anywhere that someone, in a higher echelon position at Sega of Japan when it comes to Sonic, has come out and said, yeah, there is a possibility we might include them. Now, from what thegamer.com, which reported this article, and there are other articles talking about it too, thegamer.com basically said that, for one, he didn't clarify the specifics as to which characters could appear. And that more than likely we could get Mighty and Ray since they've already appeared in Sonic Mania and such, as well as the Sega Sonic game that was an arcade game, as well as Mighty appearing, I think, in Sonic Fighters. I have to go look again. But yeah, basically, thegamer.com, the person that did the article, basically stated that there's a better chance right now that if anything comic related character-wise was to make an appearance, it would be characters that have already been in the comics, but were also in the games around the same time, basically making a semi-debut, if you will, simultaneously. Now, does this open the door for other comic book characters, past and present, to show up? Absolutely. I mean, Frontiers basically brought up characters like Tangle, and maybe by extension Whisper, and Whisper wasn't mentioned, but if you talk about Tangle, of course, by extension, you got to talk about Whisper. And then, of course, Styx and such. And, those are great little Easter eggs thrown in there for possible appearances in the future. And, if this is like the first step, the first major step outside of the Western Hemisphere, if you will, when it comes to Sega of Japan, to acknowledge by someone in, like I said, the higher echelon of Sega, to acknowledge, hey, yeah, I would like to see these characters, that is a good sign. When and where it would happen, that's totally another question. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, would I like to see, characters like Bunnie Rabbot and Sally Acorn and Rotor and Antione be playable characters in future Sonic games? Absolutely. Would love to see it. I mean, when you think about it, you can't tell me that, the people over at Sega of Japan aren't hearing about these hacks and everything that fans are doing by incorporating different, Sonic-related characters, into the classic Sonic games. Like, of course, the more prominent being Sally, in Sonic 1, 2, and 3, and Bunnie in Sonic 1, 2, and 3, and so on. So you can't tell me they don't know about that they're not aware of it, because they are. And, I think that in itself is kind of like sending a message and being an influential message of, yeah, maybe there is something to these characters people on the western side of the world have been clamoring about for years. Maybe there is something that we could work with. And that might be one of the reasons, Kishimoto is kind of giving us a glimmer of hope here. I mean, for one, he wouldn't have allowed the likes of Tangle or Styx to be, incorporated storyline-wise into Frontiers, at least by reference. Or let the little Easter eggs like Sonic fishing, and one of the things he pulls out is an acorn that seems very similar and familiar, and identical to another character. So I was trying to think of the word I was going to say, but identical to a certain princess that we know of. But now the question is, will it eventually happen? And like I said, we'll just have to be, sitting back and waiting. It's going to be one of those scenarios that, let's just see what occurs, what happens, what steps are taken. And if maybe we do get word that, yes, it will happen, in a future game, then all power to it. It may not be, like a game that stays within the continuity, if you will. It may be more like an all-star game, maybe a Smash Brothers inspired game or something. It might be something like that, but still, it might be better than nothing. So, who are we to argue if that's the case? But anyway, though, I just wanted to come on here and mention that real quickly because, again, this is glimmer of hope right here. This is a glimmer of hope. A spark of hope, if you will, a spark of life, to coin a phrase from one of my favorite arcs of the Archie books, that we've been kind of hoping for. And it took a Q&A, and a question from a fan to ask that, to get an answer that, again, a lot of people would say is very surprising to come from someone in the higher echelon, if you will, the higher echelon of Sega to bring that up and everything. So overall, I'm curious as to what will happen. I mean, again, if this is the first step, or at least the second step outside of, Tangle and Styx and all them being referenced and acknowledged in Sonic Frontiers, if this is like that next step, because, they do want to do, they do want to do an incorporation, if you will, of Sonic lore. They basically said that they want to, make a universal connecting Sonic lore. And if this is like that second step in making that happen with this answer, then I'm all for it. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Support me over at Venmo at Brian-Romer-2, Cash App at BWRoses98. Check out the Teespring store as well for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. Also support me at VENMO at BWRoses. Also check me out at Divanart.com at BVW1979. And BW Roses Discussions, as I mentioned earlier, at all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are on this. How do you feel about this answer being given by Kishimoto? Do you think there's a good chance that we'll finally see some progress? And how long do you think it will be? Do you think do you think it might occur quickly? Or do you think it's going to take its time? Let me know down below and in the live chat, and I'm out.